Also, we have a volume control. Can you hear me now? Somebody in the back of the room said that they could not hear me, which is usually unusual. Is that better? Okay. We've got captioning. Are we all set? Okay, Secretary General, I'm sorry to ask you to repeat, but we now have captioning. Could you please repeat your introduction for us for the record, please, so you are recorded? Thank you.
Abdelrahman Othman, Egyptian television writer and journalist, and Secretary General of the Egyptian Foundation of the Parents of People with Visual Impairment, and founder of the first ICT center in Egypt for the visually impaired.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, my co-coordinator. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
I'm Peter Major, co-coordinator of the Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. I have been part of this coalition since 2008.
Thank you. Now, for people online, I'm going to call your name out because I know who's there, and then speak loudly because you were faint. First of all, can we have Jerry Ellis?
Good morning, everybody. This is Jerry Ellis, dialing into you from Dublin in Ireland. I'm blind, and I have been a software engineer in a bank in Dublin for over 30 years. I've also been involved in disability issues for around the same length of time and have been involved with the Dynamic Coalition probably as long as Peter, probably around 2008 or 2009. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Then I'm going to go to Shadi Abuzara, please. Can you please go ahead and speak loudly?
Yes, hello. This is Shadi Abuzara. It's very unfortunate that I can't be with you today. It's the first IGF for me to miss. I work for the Web Accessibility Initiative of the World Wide Web Consortium. We are most well known for developing guidelines and standards to make the web accessible to people with all kinds of different kinds of disabilities. Thanks.
Thank you, Shadi. Susan Shore, can you please go ahead? Deidre, is she there?
Can't see her.
Go ahead.
No, she's over there.
Who else is on? No, please leave the microphone on for her. Go ahead, Deidre. Who else is online?
Cheryl has asked me to meet her.
Cheryl, you're in Australia. Go ahead. Speak loudly.
Cheryl asked me to read for her.
Have you repeat the names, and then as Deidre repeats your name, then you introduce yourself. So first, Cheryl, go ahead.
Cheryl says,
Hi, I am Cheryl Landon from Australia, Director of ISOC AU. So I'm used to working with Gunella, who sadly also isn't here, and have been engaged in Australia.
To turn down your speakers. Can you do that, please, for me, Susanna? These are the kinds of things that we had hoped to test before we started, but this is interesting to find that out. Thank you, Roy. Roy is the captioning genius. Is that turned down? Anybody else who's going to speak when you get an echo, that means that you have to mute your computer because your speakers are feeding in. Okay, Deidre, go ahead and introduce the next person remotely, please.
We
We
also
also
have
have
Dipendra
Dipendra
online.
Dipendra Manocha here from DAISY Consortium, and I'm calling from New Delhi, India.
Turn off the mic. Okay, try another mic. Or a roving mic. Hold on. We're going to do a roving mic. That might work for Deidre because Deidre, being the remote moderator, has to be able to not have feedback feed into the ears of the captioners. Thank you. And, okay, Deidre, try that. That'll work. Now,
Let's see if this works.
that's much better. Okay, so you'll use a roving mic. Thank you.
We
We
also have Dipendra Manocha, I hope I pronounced it properly, as a remote participant.
Yes, this is Dipendra Manocha. This is Dipendra Manocha here. Am I audible?
I need you to be a little louder.
Yeah, this is Dipendra Manocha from New Delhi, India. And I work for DAISY Consortium. Again, been involved with the DCAD for a long time. Unfortunately, not being able to be present in IGF this time.
Thank you, Dipendra. Who else do we have, Deidre?
Gunella.
Hi, Gunella. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Everyone, and I'm also very sorry I can't be there in person. My name is Gunella Asbrink, and for the captioners, that's spelled Gunela Asbrink, Astbrink. I've worked in the with disability policy and research for about 25 years. I'm a member of Women with Disabilities Australia and a director with Cheryl on ISOC AU, and also a member of a Pacific Island chapter of the Internet Society. And I'm very happy to participate in DCAD today, as I've done in previous times. Thank you.
Thank you, Gunilla. That's great. Now, is there anyone else, or have we covered everybody remotely?
In the remote chat, we also have Misha Live.
Misha, please introduce yourself. Thank you. Misha's in Geneva.
Hello, my name is Misha. I'm the acting secretariat for the DCAD.
DCAD is Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability, so we have an acronym. We call it DCAD or DICAD. And Deidre, do we have anybody else remotely?
Jolie McPhee.
I couldn't hear you, Deidre, sorry.
Jolie McPhee.
Julie McPhee, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I believe he is from ISOC. I think that Jolie is from ISOC. JOLY. MACFIE.
We're still getting an echo, Roy. Okay, we can't do anything about it. We'll have to fight through it. That mic isn't very loud. Let's get another one. It's not very loud. Hold it really close to your mouth.
I was saying that we have JOLYMACFIE, and I believe he is associated with ISOC.
Thank you. Now, the rest of you come late. I can't take the time to introduce you, but what we were attempting to do, and there will be a transcript of this captioning to enable people to see who was here, but we wanted people to know who was on the line. All these people who are members of DICAD work towards a goal. Now, I'm just going to introduce what, technical problems aren't the half of it. Hold on, let's see if I can get this working. I'd like to just move up rather than go to the agenda straight. I want to just do one small thing. Could somebody please move to the top of the page? That's you. Move it to the top. I want the written word. Just go one page over. That's it. Right. This is on the web. This tells you what the Dynamic Coalition does. The Dynamic Coalition is really the nagger of the IGF to make meetings accessible. We've been analyzing the meetings over a period of time, and we are continually trying to work with IGF to make things better. And we go backwards and forwards on different issues, but this is what the Dynamic Coalition does, as well as talk about internet governance. So the Dynamic Coalition has a twofold job. One, to make sure here and remotely we are accessible, and also internet governance, which affects directly and impacts the lives of persons with disabilities. So now we'll head for the agenda. You know who we are. I'm Andrea Sachs. Vice Chairman is Peter Major, and we have Deidre Williams, not Peter Major or Ginger Pack, this time as remote moderator. And welcome. So I need all of you to approve the agenda. Now, since some of you can't read the agenda, I will read it through for everyone so they know what is on the agenda. And if you could hold your comments, because we have something called any other business, where you can add something that you wish to speak about that is not on the agenda. So the first thing is to review accessibility at this IGF meeting. And the topics that we want to cover are accessibility facilities at the IGF meeting, accessibility web pages and printed materials, hotel accommodation and information for delegates, the IGF registration form and process, review of the internet facilities and connectivity, review of remote participation, all aspects. That's number 3. That's going to be what we start with. Then when we've covered that, we go to number 4, which is review of the updated DICAD accessibility guidelines, which we have written and rewritten and have rewritten again as we experience other difficulties and problems that occur. And also some things are good, by the way. Not everything is gloom and doom. Number 5, funding of accessibility experts and IGF participants, including remote moderators. 6, discussion, the main sessions do they apply to accessibility? Number 7, review of DICAD activities at IGF. Now that's what's just happened. We've just had a workshop. Bullet number 1, G3ICT and DICAD did a joint workshop, number 89, multi-stakeholder engagement, imperative for web accessibility. Those of you may have comments about that. There is a report that's already ready and written on the web that we did just afterwards, thanks to Misha, who's got fast fingers. Misha, who is the Secretariat in Geneva. And other workshops on accessibility. Gunilla, you will open your mouth and talk about yours, please, which is next coming up after this afternoon. Number 8, open forum of participants and DICAD members. Now that's where you're going to get to fly on whatever else you would like to talk about, special things. And I have promised the Secretary General for the organization in Egypt to have a few words because he has asked to do that, and I welcome him. Future activities of DICAD for the next year and how we proceed to the future. And then there is any other business. Is there any other business that any of you would like to add to this agenda? If you're in the room, raise your hand. Deidre, is there anybody on remote? Great, then I presume, we have somebody. Carry on.
I think if my microphone.
Would you name yourself before you speak for the captioner, please?
My name is Bhaskar. I am from Bangladesh. Bhaskar, Bashkar. So I would like to suggest to make a small working group in the IGF on disability and accessibility, because I saw that the disability issue is not that much highlighted in the IGFs. As a participants, I feel among the 3,000 participants, maybe we are few, maybe 5, I don't know. I met only 2, 3. So I think there should be a small working group on disability and accessibility in internet governance.
This is it, kid. This is the group. I welcome your participation. We are the IGF Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. We would welcome your participation because we are small. We would like to be bigger, so we definitely would like you to join. This is the group. Is there, okay, we have a remote participation comment. Go ahead.
Cheryl Langdon Orr
Can you speak louder, please?
Cheryl Langdon Orr has some points to make.
We're waiting for the captioning to catch up. Go ahead.
Cheryl, do you want to speak yourself?
Cheryl, this is just to add to the agenda, not points on what is in the agenda. So if you want to add something to the agenda, then speak now. Otherwise, you will be given the floor as the points come up. Is that okay?
Cheryl wants to add to any other business to the
Perfect.
agenda.
All right, I'll try with the audio, but I typed it because my audio isn't very good on this pickup system. I have some points I will type in under any other business regarding operating system variability and captioning via WebEx. Thank you.
Cheryl, that will be covered in review of accessibility at this IGF meeting number 3. So that is already on the agenda, but thank you for highlighting that. I think we're well aware of having had such difficulty in getting that done. We will certainly have you repeat that at that moment. Is that okay? Do I have an affirmative? I will take silence. Okay. Do we accept the agenda? Fine. All right. Now, here it is. Review of accessibility at this IGF meeting. The first one is accessibility facilities at the IGF meeting. Does anyone want to make a comment, please? Please go ahead and give your name before for the captioner so we know who it is. Go ahead.
Thank you, Andrea. My name is Judy Okita from Nairobi. Physical accessibility has been terrible.
Come on, Judy, you can do better than that. Tell me more. We want everybody to know exactly what you've been messing about with.
Thank you, Andrea. For starters, we have people who are not really sure where the rooms are. So that one, I believe, applies even for everyone else. Secondly, going up and down, there is an area that you have to do escalators, and there's no lifts to there. And so I have to keep going through the kitchen and coming out and going out, and yeah, it's quite a long distance. And lastly, they had to get me a wheelchair because of getting around. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Judy. As you know, I have arthritis. I've been visiting the tomatoes in the kitchen as well. There is a lift, but it was not signposted. It was not noted. IGF staff did not know its existence. We found it. You found it. The members had to find it. And also it doesn't just impact us who declare that I have age-related and you have walking disabilities because you're young and beautiful. You're not getting them on the age factor. But many of the older, and we say this most respectfully, age-related disability, people who are older, their knees are dying. It's really, really terrible. Just every day, people who have problems doing that length of stairs. Now, we have taken note of that. And we will talk about the fact of how we've solved that in the guidelines. In the guidelines, basically, we say we have to have a mapping procedure, which shows where everything is, that is available to delegates, that's accessible. And while we're on this subject, why don't we just go into it? Francesca had a solution, which is in the guidelines, which we'll look at in a few minutes. Why don't you say what we discussed as a solution for this?
Well, there is technology that can do that as well. So I just want to suggest about some ways to use technology, and especially mobile technology, to work on mapping. And there are organizations also founded by persons with disabilities, actually, which can help. And we are very welcome to provide names.
Thank you. We will take note of the names that we can for the next IGF. I saw a hand go up. Would you like the floor? And will you identify yourself since you've come a little bit later for the captioner?
Thank you. My name is Satish Babu from India. I'd like to add on a point to what Judy has just mentioned.
Closer to the mic, please.
Can you hear me now? Okay. As a person who's been helping out Judy, including taking her through the kitchen on the wheelchair, I am reminded of Baku, where the people requiring assistance had one volunteer at least attached to them to take care of their special needs. I don't find that here because wheelchairs don't push themselves. So I think it is important that this support structure is also provided. Thank you.
Right. I think that's an important point. We need volunteers who could come and help be guides or push wheelchairs or assist persons with disabilities to navigate the premises. Okay, Deidre, we have it's Deidre. Deidre speaking for herself. Go ahead.
And Shadi also has a response to make, but he hasn't made it yet. My suggestion is, why doesn't perhaps the IGF Secretariat in future arrange a color-coded routing for people with disabilities? So you don't have to ask, it's there already. You follow the yellow arrows and that will take you to all the lifts and all the correct doorways and those sort of things. I don't know if that's helpful.
Thank you, Deidre. The captioning is going to be recording this, and it will be posted. Okay, you said Shadi had, and then next. Okay, Shadi had a comment about the premises. Go ahead, Shadi.
It's less about the premises. I'm not there in person to judge, but just responding to this discussion, I get very concerned when I hear about needing help from external people. I strongly believe in a universal design approach and independent living. I use a wheelchair myself, and I would prefer to be able to get around without any help, and that is possible if the building is well designed. And I think rather than having markings and you need to remember which color goes to which elevator or whatever, to have clear signposting, which will be valuable for everyone, regardless of a disability or not. So I really think we should look at making the information available, making the facilities available to everyone rather than I'm concerned it could be misunderstood for the organizers that they don't need to worry about those things. They'll just assign some students or whatever that will push people around. And that's really highly concerning for me.
Thank you, Shadi. With all due respect, I totally agree with you on the ideal situation, but there are circumstances where perhaps that would not be possible for all human beings to be able to do. But the mapping and the knowledge that needs to be given out by IGF staff and training, I think, is something that is where a lot of people were going. So we'll take note of that. And the ultimate goal is the goal that you describe, and I'm in total agreement of that. Now, I promised the gentleman from Bangladesh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I haven't got your name on the captioning to say it, but go ahead and say your name again so we know it's you on the
Okay, my name is Bhashkar, Bashkar, Bashkar. Very difficult name, sorry for that. This is also not accessible. However, I was just last few days around these 3,000 people. I can just say you like I could meet maybe 40 because people not really, it is very difficult for us to go around and meet with the peoples and to get the attention from the moderators, so on so. So I believe IGF will take some initiative for giving the information to the moderators and all the panelists. There should be some people with disabilities, then if they raise their hand or how they can involve with this initiative. And also the informations, maximum informations are not accessible to us, and I didn't get any accessible materials yet. So it is really difficult to know everything without anybody's help. So I am continuously getting help from the IGF secretariat or information booths to know what is going on and how is going on. Because some web plays also not very little bit difficult to understand because of the inaccessibility of the design. I think in the next IGF, the accessibility needs of information should be considered and given priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the reason I can't get your name is I have a terrible memory and I'm dyslexic. So if I just say the gentleman from Bangladesh, don't be offended. And everyone must say their name each time. So when we go back through this record, we know who said what. Deidre, you have a remote participant. Put the mic close to your mouth.
In fact, there are two. Cheryl Langdon Orr is pointing out the difficulty with motorized cars, that they have a reversing signal, which makes a noise which is disturbing. And Gunella Asbrink would like to make a point herself.
Go ahead, Gunilla, and we'll take note of that, Cheryl. Go ahead, Gunilla.
Yes, thanks, Andrea. This is Gunilla Asbrink for the transcript. Just to follow on from what Shadi and Pascal have raised, and probably this has been considered before, but surely when a particular conference venue is being considered amongst maybe one or two others, isn't there a way that there can be an accessibility audit of potential venues so that we know if they are accessible, where there are issues beforehand? And that audit can be done either by Secretariat staff who have in hand the type of accessibility meeting guidelines that have been developed, or have local people with disability to participate in doing that audit. So we have a first-hand information about what's going to work and what isn't. Thank you.
Thank you. What we've also put in the guidelines is that the Dynamic Coalition, again, has requested to work with the Secretariat. From digging around, as some of you who know me personally that I'm able to do, I found out it was a decision based on money. And one of the comments that's made in the guidelines is that host countries need to pull their fingers out and open their pockets to be able to pay for accessible premises. Okay, and we're going to read the guidelines, so some of your concerns are covered. Now, is there anybody else who wants to make a comment on the facilities? Yes, please, go ahead, Secretary General.
I go on. I may suggest that some kind of application, mobile application, to be made utilizing GPS, internal GPS for the premises, so as to guide, especially the blind people, through their way into the different halls and rooms, and so as to enable them to reach what they want to, whatever place they want to go to.
Thank you. We've taken note of that. The next bullet point I want to go to, but before I do, is there any other comment regarding accessible facilities at the IGF meeting? We have one more comment. Remember, everyone, we have time. I don't want to dwell too much on that, but okay, we have one, and then I have a gentleman in back. Go ahead on the remote participant. Who is that?
Shadi Abu Zara says, signposting an elevator or unlocking it hardly costs money. This is a problem that occurred at many IGFs.
Yes, Shadi, you are most correct. The gentleman in the back is going to take the mic. Would you please say your name for the captioner, please?
Hello, Andrea. This is Mehmet Emin Demirci. About the facilities of this IGF meeting. Well, we now in a process of checking the buildings in Istanbul in terms of the accessibility problems, and I take the note of the comments that I've made already for this facility, and I will tell the Commission to come and observe the building. Maybe they can solve the problems for the coming meetings in this facility, because this is a general Congress center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehmet. Mehmet participated in the workshop that we did earlier in the week and is blind and is the Vice President of the Blind Association here in Turkey, and thank you very much for that comment. Okay, we're going to the next one. Accessibility web pages and printed materials. I have heard one comment already that one delegate did not get accessible materials. Does anyone want to say anything about the accessibility of the website and web pages and printed materials? Because a lot of this we have covered in the guidelines, and we will read those out. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Hotel accommodations, were they accessible? And information for delegates. We've covered a little bit of information for delegates, but how about hotel accommodation? Okay, Judy, go for it. Who say your name for the captioner too?
My name is Judy Okita. Once again about the hotels. I know Dee and Satish are laughing because they know, yes, the nightmare that I've had to go through. At the point of making the reservations, I made it very clear on the kind of room that I wanted. When I got to the hotel, they said that room is not available, so I need to wait for 2 more days. So 2 more days later, I was given a room that was worse than the standard room. They say that is the special room, but the bathing area is very slippery. So I came back to them and I told them I cannot take a shower because it is too slippery for me. And the person said they don't have an option. So what I need to do is to take my staff, go to the pool area, take a shower there, and then I come back to my room. That has not been sorted. until now.
That's a horror
Thank you.
story. That's a horror story. I think we're going to have to extend, but maybe not with this particular guideline, but for next revision, because we will add what is not in the guideline to the next guideline for next year. But we will make note of that, and we might be able to, we will adjust that. We may make more emphasis on hotel, because what we have said only is that they should hold the rooms. We have not made any kind of notation about people giving you rooms that are not accessible, saying that they are. And maybe there has to be something that the IGF will check when they put hotels on the list, that the hotel rooms are in fact accessible. So Judy, that is, I don't know if we can stick that in really quickly. Do you think we can? Yeah, we'll pop that in. We can pop that in before we go. When I read that through, we'll make a note putting that rooms should be checked, or the hotel is not deemed an accessible hotel. Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on the hotel?
Jerry?
Okay, who's online? Who's Jerry? Go ahead, Jerry. I know that voice.
Hello, Andrea. Jerry Ellis here in Dublin. I think what would be helpful is a recent Irish standard that was produced in the area of communications and tourism. This was what's called a SWIFT standard, written in fast time. It was written in conjunction with the Irish National Standards Authority of Ireland, and it has won international awards because it is the first standard of its kind anywhere in the world to make tourism accessible. I recommend this standard be adopted by DCAD and be made available to IGF to help them with the kind of problems that we have heard, to try and help overcome these horror stories. So after the meeting, if you like, I will make that available to you and recommend that you adopt it.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll add that to the DICAD webpage. Incidentally, we have an updated DICAD webpage. And what we don't get done here at this IGF in the guidelines, we will begin to do for the next revision. I'll put that up there. Is there any other comment on the hotel? Information for delegates. Is there any more comment that anyone would like to make other than what we've already discussed? Yes, go ahead, Deidre. You have somebody closer to you. Yeah.
Gunilla Astbrink suggests that we could have case studies on the difficulties some people have that might highlight why the guidelines are important.
Gunilla, everything that everyone says is being captioned. I have a record, and I will ask people's permissions, like Judy, to say, can I use you to say that? Judy's nodding yes, of course she would. But everybody that has a story, we want to hear it, and that's an excellent suggestion, Gunilla. That will be done. Webpage.
Yeah, can I just
another one? Go ahead.
Cheryl Langdon Orr has a couple of really complex difficulties. At one point, I'm not sure if I understand her. She's saying that she had to accept the accompanying person to sleep in a twin-bedded room with her to be able to help her to manage.
Basically, the choice was I could have a bathroom that was safe, or I had to sleep with my accompanying person. Now, I chose to have the twin bed option and the unsafe bathroom, but that's unconscionable. So we've got lots of case studies, and I think that's a really good idea.
Cheryl, can I ask you to document that in writing and tell your story so we can post some kind of, we'll work together, because will you join the next DICAD meeting, which is a conference call later in the year, which we'll rehash more of these horror stories and record them so that they will publicly be on the ITU DICAD website. Can you do that for me, please? There's a thumbs up. Great. Okay. Anything else on hotel accommodation and also information for delegates? How was that for everyone? We've had some comments, and we have it covered in the guidelines that we're going to read in just a few minutes. How about the IGF registration form and process? How did you find that? Dipendra, did you find it okay? Dipendra is, a reason I'm calling out Dipendra is that Dipendra can't use the raise your hand on the WebEx, because if you use this, and the same thing applies to Jerry, if you use WebEx, you have to switch off your screen reader in order to listen to the meeting and vice versa if you want to navigate. So, Dipendra, do you have a comment on how it was for you to register? Okay, we have another, go ahead.
Am I audible on this?
Yes, you're on. I can hear you.
Yeah, so registration process was reasonable, I would say. Yes, I was able to register. That's the only thing I can say on this.
Thank you. Jerry, how was your experience?
Jerry in Dublin here. I don't particularly remember any issues when I was registering, and that is a very good thing, because if there was a problem, I would remember it. If it's easy, I don't. So I think it wasn't too bad.
Okay, we have a section on that in the guidelines, which discusses people actually letting IGF know for the numbers of persons with disabilities and the different types of disabilities, so they get a better idea that it's just not one or two people, and that it would encourage more persons with disabilities to be able to attend if they knew that their needs would be recognized and that there was a sufficient accommodation. Therefore, we would have more persons with disabilities who would attend. So that we will read that in a minute. Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Andrea, this is Dipendra again. Sorry, Dipendra Manocha here. Just wanted to say that I will need to leave in between from the remote participation. So just wanted to let you know.
Okay, Dipendra, would you do me a favor, if you have to leave, do read the guidelines. If you have a suggestion, would you kindly drop me an email? Thank you, and thank you for connecting in. Anybody else wish to make a comment?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Gunilla,
Andrea.
Go ahead, Gunilla.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the schedule program that was part of a website. This is a new program for this year. And while I, as a sighted person, found it quite useful to be able to pre-select the particular sessions I would go to, I did a automated accessibility check, and it didn't seem to be accessible. So I would be interested to hear from Jerry and Dipendra what their thoughts were on that scheduling program, if they used it.
Thank you. Gunilla, just a second. Did I have some people in the room who would have possibly used screen readers to check the schedule also, so I hope to hear from them. And Jerry, do you have a comment on that as requested by Gunilla?
Hi, Jerry here. I didn't actually go into the schedule page this year because Susanna has been so good at keeping us up to date in with what was going on. The one comment I would have was when information was sent to us about meetings, Susanna just took it from the website and sent it to us, and all the meetings seemed to start at 9 a.m. in the morning. That wasn't Susanna's fault. It seems to be the way that the information is held on the website, and that was very confusing. So I didn't actually go into the scheduling because I knew which workshops I was going to attend, and because I wasn't physically present, I wasn't going to attend that many workshops. So hopefully that's helpful.
I will recognize the gentleman on the floor, please. Go ahead. What is your name? put the microphone on.
Ahí está, hola. Pablo, excuse me for my bad English. I use the shell tool very well in mobile and in the computer. It's a good tool to organize and search and find the information. I don't have a problem with the use with shows for this tool.
Okay, so this is an improvement over last year. Can you switch off the mic, please?
Okay.
Paolo, thank you. So this has been an improvement over last year. And to explain, Susanna is an IGF staff member. And one of the things that DICAD does is we drive IGF mad with all the things that we know could go wrong. And Susanna has assisted many people who did have some difficulty in registering, as well as Serena did. And I'm just giving first names for the moment. So this has been an improvement. Are there any other comments about? So we could say that the website is an improvement over last year. Cheryl, you had quite a lot of comments about last year's illegible, tiny print, not able to read scheduling thing. Was it better for you this year?
Cheryl has stepped away for a moment, so she may not be there to hear you.
We'll take it as kind of like, since she didn't mention it was bad, it's probably better. Okay. Review of the remote participation and all aspects. Actually, this is one, even though we had difficulty, from my point of view, it's a lot better than last year, and it's the better one that we have ever had, because we've got the support of IGF. The technicians in Turkey have been brilliant, and maybe if anybody wants to make a comment, even though there have been problems, the only big problem seems to be clearing the room with sufficient time to be able to test so it doesn't come into meeting times. That's been my observation. When we're first in the morning, it's okay. But even so, we have to make sure an IGF person is on site early, and Susanna didn't do the first one, but she's been brilliant here. Are there any comments that, and thank you, Susanna. Have there been any issues other than we've had echoes and difficulty in contacting, and maybe discussing the WebEx problem? Does anyone want to deal with that? Okay, I'll deal with it.
Jerry here.
We have had some interesting results in talking to different people, and I'll let the next person comment. I had the pleasure of talking to Vinton Cerf last night, and Vinton totally understood the fact that maybe Google could help in designing a better remote participation tool. We also have put in the idea that, for instance, with blind access, there could be a way of doing it where if you are using a screen reader, you would be transferred to another page where the dual audio channel problem would be solved. So work is starting to be done. Bernard Sadaka, who 2 years ago was in charge of remote participation, is going to make a contribution to the ITU to standardize what should be in from user needs for remote participation tools. And though we use WebEx here, there's Adobe Connect, there's GoToMeeting, there are many other different kinds of tools that people use to do remote meetings. So progress is being made from the ITU point of view, and that's a bit of news. Other than that, the only thing the Dynamic Coalition wishes to suggest, and we have put this in the guideline, that we are a part of the communication, and when they do talk to WebEx about allowing a different kind of contract so that remote participants, for instance, who have a disability do not have to pay to call in. Jerry, go ahead. You wanted to make a comment.
Okay, Jerry, just to revert back briefly to the previous thing about schedules. I'm just in it now, and I'd say there's problem with it in the way that it's formatted, and the use of headings, tables would be better. So there are some issues around the formatting of the schedule, but it is readable, but it's difficult. Around remote participation, I agree with you that it is much better this year than it was last year. When I joined yesterday, I was well able to make a remote presentation, and I could easily hear what was going on in the room. Tuesday was very good indeed. Today, when we joined, there were technical problems, as you said, that should have been sorted out in advance, but they were sorted out before 9:30. Okay, the first 30 minutes were difficult. I couldn't hear what was going on, but now it's very, very good. So the negative is that it should have been sorted out in advance, but the very strong positive there was that people took a strong interest, took what needed to be done, and did it during the meeting, and that's very impressive. So I'd say it's much better this year than last year.
Thank you, Jerry. And the thing is, what we're going to suggest also is chairmen who have a meeting just before an accessible meeting, event, or workshop have to be told they have to vacate the room on time and not carry 20 minutes over, because that's our time to do our testing. So Susanna, I'm going to ask you to take note of that and report that back. And it was lucky that I knew the person who was the chairman, because I stood up and waved and said, no, 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 you've got to stop, which I don't really think I should have to do. Okay, now this is the fun bit. Can we put up, if we've covered all those points and people have made their comments, can we put up, please, the updated dynamic coalition on accessibility and disability accessibility guidelines for IGF? We have a comment before?
I asked Cheryl Langdon Orr about the print size that you mentioned when she came back. She says, the issue with WebEx from my point of view is that I have 4 connection equipment options, but only some operating systems run the captioning. It's not working well with tabloid Android operating system, and the Ubuntu operating system does not run WebEx at all.
Okay, those are issues with mobile telephony, and I will make a note of that. But if you go to the web streaming, Cheryl, it's pretty good. If you go to the web streaming thing on a computer, they actually have the captioning underneath the web streaming, and it's very, very good this year. We were very pleased with the fact that there's sufficient space for the captioning underneath. But on the mobile aspect, or using O2, and I realize you might be in a remote area, there are problems re broadband and fiber optics, so sometimes it has nothing to do with actually WebEx, it's to do with the connectivity. But I take your point, and always write these things to me in an email, because then I can check and can deal with that later. So we have the, let me bring up on this page, on my page, the Dynamic Coalition. Oh, we have another comment. Judy, go right ahead.
Thank you, Andrea. My name is Judy Okite. I'd just like to make a little correction on what Cheryl had said. The Ubuntu, actually, it does run WebEx. I'm running it currently.
I couldn't quite, wait, what does it say? Ah, okay. We can deal with technical aspects later, and that would be useful information. This is not the, this is still, I still need to have put up the new DICAT accessible. This is not the page, it's the other one in the stick, Susanna. That's the agenda. We need to change it. Thank you. Guidelines clean revamped. Okay, we'll have that up in just a minute. So, thank you. We're still doing some things manually. That should be, we should also load those in advance, and they should know. Okay. Okay, well, we probably could figure out a way to do it more smoothly next time. Yeah, okay, well, we're getting there. All right. Little background check. Are we ready? Is it up? yet. It'll be up in a minute. There we go. Now, we need to make it full screen, please, so people can see it. I think it's difficult to read. Can we make it full screen? So each page is not 2 pages, but 1 page. Anyway, the first page is the title page. No, we need to do that. First page, title page. There we go. Okay, it's DICAD Accessibility Guidelines 2014. That's too fast. I haven't read that in yet, please. All right. And can you go back to the title page, please? Okay. For those of you, I'm going to read the title page for everybody. DICAD Accessibility Guidelines 2014. And we have a nice title page, by the way. Accessibility and Disability in IGF Meetings. This update of previous guidelines was completed during the DICAD meeting held at the 9th IGF meeting in Istanbul, Turkey, September 2014. We worked on all the different things that we found that were inaccessible. Some of them you have mentioned, and a couple of them we have missed. If we can't get them in completely, we will certainly put them in the next year, but there's enough in here. So this is going to take some time to read, but I'm going to I can't read the whole thing to you, but if you have those, because of the time factor and I want to get through. If you have a minute with a screen reader, those of you who need to do that, I'm going to go through the titles and not go through all the paragraphs. That way you get an idea of the titles and subtitles. Be aware of attendees' needs and requirements. Actually, sorry, I forgot to read the little introduction. The Internet Governance Forum, IGF, Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability would like to provide the following guidelines to the IGF Secretariat on how to improve accessibility at IGF meetings and to eliminate barriers. The intention is to help the IGF Secretariat to improve accessibility for persons with disabilities and to include persons with age-related disabilities during IGF meetings. This requires the staff of IGF to understand certain procedures and to include those requirements as mandatory in all host agreements. Now that's one of the things we're really going to stress. Number 2, accessibility considerations when organizing IGF meeting. Beware of attendees' needs and requirements. There should be space on the online registration form to record if a person has any access requirements or specific needs. The registration form should be in accessible format. Now, there are more pieces of information in the paragraph below, but we don't have time to go into those. So if you want to have this changed or add something, you have to contact me directly by email. Now, choose the accessibility environment for the meeting. Choosing. We have gone into just about everything that you have mentioned here and a few more. Determine whether the location of the meeting, building, city surrounding is accessible for persons with disabilities before booking the event. And then we've gone into detail. Choose the right venue. We've gone into detail. Choose accessible meeting rooms. We've gone into detail. Technical accessibility. We've gone into detail there. And no background noise, which actually that's happened. We don't have any music or music playing. Ensure whether other facilities are accessible. It's been pretty good for the toilets, and I think that's an important issue, especially for me. Provide clear signs. That has not been done here. We have not had clear signage. We don't know where the elevators are, even if they were in the kitchen. We don't have staff that are guiding people through. We did today. I found a young lady who told me what was going on. But they need to be signed themselves, not just a badge. They need a sign that we can see that's big, that we know that these are the guides that will help us, even if it is taking us through the tomatoes. Arrange fully accessible and clearly signed emergency experts and evacuation procedures. That seems to be okay. Then number 3, provide information about the event, building, and other facilities. underneath, provide information on accessibility of the venue. That needs to be printed out and on the web and in accessible format and other alternate print things, so people actually do know. And we have put in there about the mapping of technology and using the different technologies that both Secretary General and Francesca have mentioned. Confirm the dates of the sessions as soon as possible so people can make travel arrangements, because it's difficult for persons with disabilities to sometimes make arrangements if they're not given sufficient time. Provide accessible information. We've gone through here are the list with more paragraphs. Ensure that the information material is accessible. Make presentations accessible, and again, every single one of these has an explanatory paragraph. Make videos accessible. I'm going to read this one because it's short and it's really imperative. It's imperative that all videos protected at the conference must include open captions to allow attendees with hearing disabilities and non-native speakers to understand the contents. The next one is make sure that the website is accessible. We seem to be all right with that, but that constantly has to be checked. Provide sign language interpretation when attendees requirement in the language of the participant. There's been an issue at the UN where they want to just use international sign, which is totally unacceptable because it is not clearly understood by all, as the hearing world would like to think, and the vocabulary is equivalent to that of a pidgin language. We've lost the screen, please. Can we have it back on? I'll continue to read for the time being. There we go. Thank you. Number 5, train and inform all assistance staff. There should be an accessibility desk. That is something we've decided that would be absolutely beneficial, because accessibility needs are sometimes different than just general information needs. Make the registration process accessible. It's better, so we'll certainly, but there's more information on that. Allow anyone to provide feedback and comment. Well, this is what we're doing here. Then we put annexes of a possible example of how to make an accessible registration form for people to be able to indicate some of the needs that they need to express, that they need to be able to have IGF aware of, for not only the numbers of the people who are coming, but the type of different disabilities that need to be accommodated. Then there's Annex 2, verification list for the meeting day. This is for IGF staff. It's a checklist of sorts. We're going to make a better one. We've had more suggestions, but on the day or before the meeting, check the internal signage and directions. On the day or before the meeting event, check the room layouts. On the day and before the meeting of the event, check registration arrangements as appropriate. On the day and before the meeting, check all the equipment works. This means like what we tried to do with making things accessible. It goes through an extensive list. I think there's some other things that could be done, but we're going to put on there a possible checklist that will be better. There's a website with an Annex 3 has a website of other accessibility lists and other organizations who have written about accessible meetings. So there's quite a lot of information. Even Google has one, and ITUD, we have one, and the accessibility access checklist, Disabled Women's Network in Ontario has one. So there's information there. But this is something that we wanted to give, and we've been told that we can present this at the closing plenary. If it's not got everything, I think we're still going to do it anyway, but we're going to go through and update it over the next year, because every year we add more. We've got 10 minutes left. Does anybody want to make a comment on the guidelines? Because I would like to be able to go through the other bits of the agenda. Yes, I've got, okay. Everybody went up at the same time. I will go with, yes, and then, okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is, My name is Bhaskar. I am from Bangladesh. The thing is that the list looks wonderful, but we need to make little bit more things like the people with disability should include it in the different sessions as a panelist or discussionist as they have the expertise. And secondly, regarding the venue you are seeing without anybody's escort, it is nearly impossible to move independently. Third is we can have a email discussion list or groups to improve for the futures things. Last is I believe next IGF will be more disability inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, and I couldn't agree with you more about having more panelists who are persons with disabilities, and that we won't be able to put in the guidelines now, but I think this is work we can do over the year, and I would like to invite you to help me with that. Who else? Was it Judy that had their hand up? And also, okay, we got 3. I'll start just going straight down the line. Judy, go ahead.
Thank you, Andrea. Judy Okita from Nairobi. I'd like to add, instead of just saying a general, give us the information early enough, can we give it a time frame?
Yes, I think we probably could. Again, a time frame would be something we'd have to discuss with IGF, but that could be something, because if we just say, I want to get this out now. Can you help me work on that when we amend this over the next year? Because one of the problems I had is that I did ask members of the Dynamic Coalition to help me put this together. So you've got that job. Is that okay? And we'll amend that, and then we'll have a paragraph. Thank you, Judy.
That's fine.
Satish, for the record, I think the guidelines are very comprehensive. My question would be, what happens to these? Are these given to the next set of organizers as a checklist so that they can follow these? Otherwise, I find I've been attending DCAD from 2009 onwards. Some of these issues are recurring. They have not gone away. So while these very nice set of recommendations do exist, I'd like to know if they are really kind of actionable in the sense of each organizers using it.
I'm aware that we have gone backwards on many issues, and I'm also aware that just producing this is not going to do it. We have to lobby, and I'll count on you to do that. Hopefully, there was only one speaker in the opening plenary who mentioned accessibility, and that was the Deputy Secretary General of the UNESCO. And I'm going to kick my own Deputy Secretary General about that as well, but don't worry, Alan will get it. So the point is, basically what the Dynamic Coalition is trying to do, and this is why this is the group that is formed. We need you to attend the meetings, help us with strategy, talk to your own governments, and get support, because the Dynamic Coalition is beginning to be listened to. And yeah, at the moment, so I appreciate exactly what you've said. The next speaker, please, is oh God, Secretary. I'm just calling you Secretary General of the Blind Association. Go for it. It's you. Can you help? Can you push the button for the gentleman, please? Because it's weird. It's not clearly marked with a braille button. That's something else that has to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Equipment must be clear. That sort of thing
it must be labeled with braille. Yeah.
We have mentioned that.
Yeah. I suggest that the badges of the people with disabilities to be different in colors or in shapes than the other badges, so other people, not only the organizers, would recognize that this person has a special need.
Okay. We can certainly request that. There is an issue, though, that some people do not wish to be identified in that manner because it's a tricky situation. However, I would think yours should be in Braille if you would like to be able to read it and to know it was there. But it depends if you want to identify yourself in that way. But you should be identified for sure to the IGF Secretariat, and hopefully with the registration process, Now, we can make that suggestion, and it can be voted on the next Dynamic Coalition call, which we're going to plan. And if you have not joined the Reflector, it's on the ITU website. I'll take your card and make sure that you are on. All of you who wish to join the Dynamic Coalition, I need as many volunteers as possible. So I'll take note of that. There's a hand up in the back. Would somebody please give him the mic?
I'm turning your microphone off.
Thank you. And will you identify yourself?
Mehmet Emin Demirci again from
Thank
Turkey. Well, in terms of getting around and finding the way in the building, well, somebody from the organizers got in touch with me during the registration process, because I wrote in my registration form that I would need assistance since I am blind. So they contacted me and they said, okay, well, if you tell us what you exactly need, we can try to accommodate your needs. And then they, at the beginning of the conference, I mean, on Tuesday, they arranged somebody to take me around, and then if I am, as long as if I want any other assistance, then they can keep that person with me. I mean, it's, I don't know what the experience of the others in terms of this, and then they were very helpful. Thank you.
Success story, because you contacted them and they have provided you with good assistance. But one of the reasons we wanted to put that on the registration form is so that they would know and people could do it in a anonymous manner. Are there any other comments? Yes, go ahead, please. And please give your name before you speak for the captioner.
My name is John Dada. I'm from Nigeria. I want to suggest that for the sake of continuity and carry through of suggestions, is it possible at the end of every IGF to have some form of scorecard or rating, some form of DICAD compliance rating for each event, so that becomes like a gold standard which every event can aim at? Just a thought.
Well, we've been doing it this way. We write reports, and last year's report was scathing. Believe me, I wrote it. This year is better in many areas, but we do have big problems like the stairs. So it is done. A scorecard, it goes on the web, by the way, so everyone can read it. It's difficult to be too critical at the time publicly during the meeting because you do have the delicate situation of the host country. But one of the things that we put at the end of the guidelines was that we wanted the host country to not use monetary ransom against IGF about not being able to have a good venue. We wanted other countries to pull the money out of, open their pockets up. If they want to see IGF continue, they have to pay. They have to contribute to the IGF Secretariat coffers. One of the things about why WebEx is used is that the license is donated by Cisco. So there are lots of interesting issues. But if countries want IGF governance to continue, they're going to have to contribute more money. And a lot of that has to be earmarked for making things accessible. So again, I'm going to ask all of you to go to the ITU website, and that's where we hold the, all you have to do is go ITU website and find accessibility. I'll give everybody my card and then you can see where it is on the thing. But we do conference calls throughout the year that are captioned. And therefore, we have deaf people on. We don't have any on today, but we have a contingency of deaf people. And also, we have a record of what we've done. So all these issues, if I can't get them into the guidelines today, I will certainly open this up in the next meeting, and we can possibly make a checklist. Did they fail? Yes. Did they do a good job? Yes. Okay, will you be responsible for that? Right. you're recruited as well. Okay, let's go back to can everybody stay over for just another 10 minutes? Would that be okay with the technical people for just 10 minutes since we started late due to technical problems? Would that be all right? Can we do that? Thank you. So we're going to extend for another 10 minutes. We have a comment from remote participation. Go ahead.
If you will allow me to...
Closer to your...
If you'll allow me to summarize, there is discussion in the remote participation chat about the differently colored badges and a conclusion among them that this is certainly a matter that should be voted on. Not everybody is in favor of it, although there is strong support for putting Braille on the badges so that you can read who the person is with your fingers if you can't see the badge. And initially Cheryl Landemore had supported the guidelines. That was the first comment, really.
Okay. I think the situation with the badges does have to be handled in a dynamic coalition meeting, and I appreciate the conversation that's going on. Whether some of you, those of you who can't use WebEx, there is a chat box, and it's possible for remote participants to chat amongst themselves. Thank you, Deidre, for sharing, and thank you, remote participation participants, for sharing that. We'll have to talk about that. That will go on the agenda for the next dynamic meeting, and we will work out a callback situation for Australia. We are down to funding of accessibility experts and IGF participants, including remote moderators. I would like to see some encouragement.
Jerry?
Yes, Jerry, hang on one second. I would like to see and I will put you on, like to see some kind of a program started within IGF where countries donate and help with fellowships, but we have never extended that or ever discussed it in any great detail. Jerry, you want to go ahead, please?
Jerry from Dublin here. Just about the guidelines, Andrea, do you need to have them adopted by the meeting? I had one comment about the guidelines, just about the formatting of it. The numbering and headings in it are kind of all over the place. Like 1 is introduction, then 2 is accessibility consideration, and under that is 1 again, and then it goes 2 and 3 again, and then if you look down at the bottom, you have 1.1 and 1.2, 1.3. So I think that needs to be worked out before you adopt them, but apart from that, I would support them. We need to adopt them today?
Okay, so we need, Misha, are you still on there? Misha? No, he's not. Okay, we'll try and see if we can get that done. We do have to vote. Misha said yes, he will go do that. No, he's not on. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Misha is still there.
Misha, can you redo the formatting on there, taking in Jerry's consideration of 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3? We can't do it before we adopt the basic principle, Jerry. We have only 5 more minutes. So if we don't get the formatting right, we want to get that done in principle. It will be posted correctly on the website once we get it, but we have to move forward. So would that be all right with you?
Sorry, I'm not suggesting that we wait for it to be done. I'm just saying we do need to adopt it, but I would like to see those
okay, no, we'll take that into
formatting.
consideration.
Sorry.
So we have a little breathing space on that.
Sorry if I was confusing you.
Sorry, Jerry, we have a little breathing space on that, please?
Absolutely, but what you suggest is perfect, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry if I was confusing you.
All right, Jerry, we will vote on that. I just want to get through the agenda really quickly, and then we'll go back and do that. Now, we're not going to have time to do review of the workshops, and I will say that that Gunilla has a workshop number 99 on today at 4:30, and I don't have the room number in front of me. Gunilla, number one, thank you, number one. And if those of you would like to participate remotely, please do. And we were going to have an open forum of participants and DICAD members. It looks like we've had it. I'm pretty sure we have had it. We've been talking, so I think that's good. Future activities of next year and how we proceed. We're going to try and get more people like yourselves on the DICAD list so you can participate and join the calls. We have a system where you can be called. You can call back. You don't have to pay for the call. We will sort that out with all of you. And what I'd like to do now, we did have any other business.